The universe is loud in a very quiet way. Are you listening? Welcome to the Cosmic Whispers podcast, where we delve into the realms of spirituality, personal growth, and the cosmic dance between the third and fifth dimensions. In a world filled with noise and distractions, we invite you to tune into your own cosmic whispers, where we can awaken our inner wisdom and embark on unveiling the authentic self and cosmic connection. Please note that the content provided here is not intended as medical advice. It is essential to consult your healthcare professional for any medical inquiry. Welcome to episode 18 with Dr. Christine Palma of Fire Over Water Acupuncture. Dr. Christine began her career excelling as a biomedical engineer in Western medicine, but studied deeper, more personal impact in healthcare. While living the fast-paced Silicon Valley lifestyle, she discovered acupuncture as a means to recover from injuries and restore balance amidst long hours and intense physical activities like triathlons, where Western medicine had failed her. This transformative experience inspired her to shift her focus to acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, finding a profound way to connect with patients, deliver effective healing, and make a lasting impact. Dr. Christine blends her technical expertise with ancient wisdom, addressing environmental toxins, hormone imbalances, and the root causes of health issues. She integrates TCM's proven effectiveness in preventative care with the 5 elements framework to promote harmony and balance. Her practice also explores the energetic impacts of diamonds and other precious stones, as well as beliefs about spirits, ghosts, and negative entities attaching to people. Join us as we dive into how Dr. Christine combines modern medicine and holistic healing to nurture life and vitality. Welcome, Dr. Christine, to the show.
Thank you, Joan.
I'd actually like to start with hearing a bit about your background and your story and how you got started.
Yeah, so I guess like my background before I was, into holistic healing and acupuncture, I used to work in Western medicine. I used to be an engineer. So I guess what sort of gravitated me towards like biomedical engineering is, I had an interest in like helping people and interest in healthcare, but more like from a techie perspective. Yeah, that's somehow, how I drifted. And then back when I was young, all the tech jobs were in Silicon Valley. So I moved out from New York City to Silicon Valley. And then I started living that Silicon Valley life. So like you spend all day on a computer cranking away. I used to be into running, but then I got more into like triathlons. It's like work hard, play hard lifestyle. So eventually that gets caught up to you. So I ended up having like a ton of shoulder pain, especially from the computer, and adding swimming and biking onto top of that. And would do like the traditional healing therapies at the time. I would do different cortisone shots, or I did physical therapy, and nothing was really helping me. So then, someone recommended acupuncture, and it was just like spark went off. I really was interested in it. I wanted to get to know more. So I went off and I studied it, and now I'm here.
I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. I'm remembering like the little incident with a biomedical company.
Oh my God. Well, I guess there's a lot. They're all sketchy because like you're trying to get like, FDA approvals. You're trying to make your product work. I was very conflicted with the preclinical testing. You probably remember all that. Before we experiment on humans, we experiment on different animals. So I had I had a really tough time. I don't know if that's going to be in the podcast. But yeah, I had a tough time. Like you can understand on one side, like, before we experiment on grandma, just to make sure something works, because sometimes things are catastrophic. They're failing. And
oh my God. Wait, I don't think I even want to know anymore. This is awful.
I know. I'm still traumatized. I knew that wasn't for me. Yeah, I was like crying. I'm like, oh my God. And then everyone's like, toughen up.
Dude, that's fucked up.
Okay. I know.
Yeah. No.
That's another reason why I wanted out.
Okay. So now your philosophy is integrating both modern medical knowledge and the ancient wisdom of traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah, I think we could learn a lot about like ancient ways of healing. There's a philosophy in Chinese medicine I like a lot called Yang Shen, and it's about like nurturing life. A lot of people's health problems is their lifestyle and their environment. Because I just told one of my friends the other day, like people just assume before modern medicine, people would just like drop dead at 40. But if you go like on ChatGPT and you just type name I don't know, like 100 famous, I kind of went through this exercise the other day, 100 famous people from like ancient Greek and Roman times. And you look how old they are when they died. I think it's Ramses II lived to be 90. Confucius lived to be 80. No, Confucius, sorry, lived to be 72. Socrates lived to be 71. And he was killed. He was like a trial to put to death. Plato lived to be 80. Um, Pythagoras lived to be 75. Sophocles lived to be 91. So you can just do this exercise yourself. So, back then they didn't have modern surgery, modern drugs, but they cultivated like a very healthy lifestyle. So you can live to old age without needing like all these drugs that people take nowadays. It's insane. Like, I especially see in my clinic now, everybody wants to take Ozempic and Wegovy
What is
and
that?
see all these weight loss drugs in America.
Oh
I
God.
know. But yeah, instead of like thinking like, why am I having problems with my weight? Even if you have a good diet, sometimes people will have problems holding on to weight,
Could be stress, right?
stress.
Stress and hormones.
There's a lot of environmental toxins in the US. I don't see this as much in Europe, but like, everyone here is grabbing like a plastic
Hmm.
water bottle to drink out of, and those phthalates can mess up your thyroid. To go containers, 'cause there's like a whole culture of eating out
Yeah.
a lot here. Your beauty products, things in the US are like not as regulated as Europe. So like your lotion could be making you fat, your detergent could be making you fat. So instead of like looking at the root cause of like, why am I having this problem? People just want to take a drug here instead of cultivating this like healthy life, thinking about like everything between their food and everything they're exposed to and cultivating that longevity. So I try to bring both in my practice because, some people definitely want to come and they're looking you to poke some needles and make their problem go away, but it takes like you changing your entire life, yang shen nurturing life to be in a state of health.
Yeah, and I just feel like we're conditioned to think like we can pop a pill and everything's fine. It's like, no, back in a day, we actually had a certain lifestyle where we would follow
Yeah,
the ways of nature a little bit more and eat more natural foods and
yeah.
things like that, and we were less sick.
I know, go to bed when the sun
Yeah.
is setting. Yeah, artificial light is a huge problem too for people because you can do things that just aren't
Hmm.
natural anymore. Like you're supposed to rest more in the winter because it's, you think about it, it's like
Yeah.
dark all day. Hunter gatherer or even farmer, like in the winter, there's nothing to do. You just get a time for your body to recover. But now, post industrial revolution, people are always on the go and they're never getting that rejuvenation time.
Yeah, it's such a shame. And I think we've both been in health and wellness for quite a while. And I feel like the more I follow that lifestyle, like the more my body tells me what it needs. Now I can see that in the winter, I need to rest more. My body will just get like today, for example. Yesterday, the sun was out. Today, it was like dark, kind of dreary. And my body was like, oh, like fall or winter's coming. You need to rest more. So I actually started to feel a little sleepy. I was like, oh, it's that season of rest.
Yes, it's a rejuvenation time. Even with foods, people try to eat the same foods year round. Like everyone just assumes I'm going to be healthy. I'm just going to eat a salad year round, but lettuce doesn't grow in December.
Root vegetables. We got to fatten up for the winter.
I know. Yeah, it's just even fasting more in the winter
Mhm.
too. Like I'm into doing periods of intermittent fasting, which where people are trying very regimented. It's definitely the industrial revolution mindset. Like, oh, I got to eat, and they don't change up the diet throughout the year. They don't change up how they're eating throughout the year.
What kind of fasting do you recommend?
For a lot of people, just to stop snacking,
Really?
it's like a
Okay.
huge, yeah, just is huge to help your organs because everything needs a
Hmm.
break. So even like your stomach doesn't want to be digesting all day. It needs some time to repair itself. So like that American culture, you don't see this in
No.
Europe. I think this is why Europe does not have the problems of Americans. Like Americans like constantly have something in their
Oh my
mouth all
gosh, I
day.
snack so much. I literally had 2 lunches. Oh no.
No, you want to eat like a meal and then take a
Okay, I'm
break.
gonna try that. I just get so hungry.
That means you're not getting what you need at your
Yeah.
meals.
Okay.
Because think about in the olden days, like if you're on a farm or you're hunter gathering, you can't be snacking all day.
Yeah, that's true. You would
So
just
you
eat
have
when you
to.
could get food.
I know.
Now we have food, access to food all day long. So,
I know. So yeah, like your stomach and your intestines need a break from digesting to heal itself. So if they're
mhm.
constantly with the digestive, enzymes, people that messes up your metabolism.
Okay.
I
I mean,
know
I
it's a
I
tough
was
one.
aware of like intermittent fasting, but I just like I've always been a snacker. So
Yeah,
I
it's
just kind of
tough.
like graze all day.
You
Except for the
gotta,
mornings. Like I won't eat
yeah.
from nighttime until morning or till
Try just, yeah,
yeah.
eating 2-3 meals a day,
Yeah.
and that's pretty good just to help your organs sort of like heal themselves. Because most
Okay.
people, their stomach never gets a break, only when they're
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
It
that
needs a
makes
couple
sense
breaks.
actually. Okay, thanks, Dr. Christine. It's like, crap.
I
I was like, I really need to eat
know.
often.
You gotta embrace living in Europe.
Yeah, I know, right? I do notice like me and my friend, another Californian in Paris, like we snack all the time and we talk about how like the French people don't snack. They literally just like I mean, they might have like a little aperitif or something, but they don't snack all day long. They just have their
No.
meals. So,
That's why they don't have to try as hard to be
yeah.
thin.
Yeah.
Whereas like America, you're constantly thinking about like how do I stay thin? How do I stay healthy? Whereas
Mhm.
if you just do these little hacks,
Yeah.
like you don't even have to think about it. Then
Yeah.
you could eat cheese all day and be okay.
Tupi agrees. Do you have any personal experiences or specific moments that deepened your commitment to acupuncture and Chinese medicine?
Yes, especially in my younger days, I've just had so many insane injuries. I have this calf problem that I developed when I was probably 2016. It came out of nowhere called chronic exertional compartment syndrome. So it's when the fascia, depending on the compartment in your calf, doesn't expand anymore and your calf seizes up in extreme pain.
Oof.
I know. And I'm just like, at first, like, it's a default mode, like, let me rush to Western medicine. And then, you go there and it's like, you talk to the sports medicine physicians, like, well, there's not much you can do. You're probably going to have to stop running. I'm like,
Mhm.
what? Yeah, because the surgery for this problem has like a over 50% failure rate. And like PT, if you look on PubMed, is not very successful. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is it the rest of my life. That's when I like dug deep. I'm like,
Mhm.
I got to heal myself. I learned a lot at that time about all different types of herbal medicine and treatments they use in the martial arts. There's this whole secret world of it's called hit medicine. I think it's I guess the martial artists, they're getting beat up all day and they've come up with this whole system to recover fast from all these injuries, especially if like you really are fighting. Sometimes, especially back in the olden days before x-rays and casts, they just only had like what was on the earth to try to like fix things. And I used like all this martial arts hit medicine, which is very related to the acupuncture to like fix my leg and even like changing my posture, just getting back to like, in Chinese medicine, there's 5 branches. Like acupuncture is just one, but then also, when you think of Tai Chi and Qigong, it's sort of like
Mhm.
natural movements, doing that to fix my posture. Because I think what one of the triggers for my chronic exertional compartment syndrome is my calves got too tight because I spent way too much time in bad ergonomic position. So just even doing those exercises and changing my pelvis and changing my posture helped my legs. So yeah, now I'm back to like running and sort of like fix myself. You don't need to like run to the physician because I have a lot of the problems I can't fix. Western medicine is great. If you get like run over by a car, it's good for like really good acute care. But for things that are usually most chronic problems, there isn't like a great solution. And most lifestyle, if you look at like the top drugs that are prescribed, a lot of people go to the physician. I think the top, I have to double check, but it's like pain.
Mhm.
Like there's not much they can do for pain. Mood disorders, anxiety, depression. Most people don't want to take one of these prescriptions forever. And most people don't want to see a therapist forever. So you have to figure out like what is in my life is causing this so I can like not be stuck doing this forever. Heart disease, whether it be like high blood pressure or cholesterol, that's all lifestyle. And like diabetes is one of the top 5. That's also predominantly lifestyle for
And I
Americans.
also think the mind body connection is really important, like how your emotions are correlated with certain body parts or organs.
Yeah, that's it with the 5 elements in Chinese medicine. Like most people are predominantly one element. You see this a lot in the clinic. People will have a predominant emotion based on their body element type. You see like a lot of liver in New York, so they will tend towards getting angry very quick.
Interesting.
Whereas like if you're predominantly the water type, it's fear. And the heart type, you can be like too happy, more like manic. Spleen tends to worry. Metal can get sad.
Oh, I'm spleen and water.
Yeah, you can definitely be like a combo.
Would you say water was? Fear. So I
Water
have fear
is
and worry.
fear. Wood is anger, which is liver. Fire, which is heart, is joy. So you can get manic when it's out of earth. The spleen is worry. Metal is the lung and grief. And then water,
Interesting.
the kidneys, is fear.
Then you have certain acupuncture points, right, to help manage it?
Yeah, there's a lot of acupuncture points for the emotions. Some people use, they're called the ghost points, that mental balances out. In Chinese medicine, like also like sort of like your spirit. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. Besides like your mood, like how you can come off, some people could be possessed. I don't know if you've heard about like spirits and ghosts in Chinese medicine, the gui.
Yeah, gui.
So there are points for that. If you've been either possessed, when you've been by somebody toxic and you feel like they've changed you and like you're feeling different, your mood is different. So there's points for that. It's like the outer dragon or the inner dragon, like emotional trauma from your youth that is just really affecting you. There's points for that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not surprised that Chinese medicine has this, since they're deeply rooted in spirituality too.
Well, you see this a lot in New York too, because especially if you live in an old city, it's probably worse in Europe. There's like a lot of old spirits in a city, and a lot of bad things have happened in a city when people were struggling more, especially in an old building. There's definitely like a lot of ghost energy, and sometimes that can you see this affecting people's health. Besides like mental health, you see people having all these physical issues. So you can use these points for that too.
That's funny that we're talking about this. Like I was just talking to someone today about how Europe is haunted.
Yeah, it's an old
Yeah,
place.
because of wars and just lingering energies, and like it's not like people are regularly saging the place, so you have like thousands of years
that's
of
why
energy
people
here.
Yeah, that's why people always used to have like protective things for the home to try to like push those spirits out. So people don't do any of these like rituals or protections anymore. So like you're leaving your whole home open to like being invaded by like a negative, and some of them that could be friendly, but there's like a lot of negative spirits out there.
Definitely.
So New York is definitely not as old as Europe, but you definitely see there's a lot of trauma just because it's like so dense. So like in a dense area, you're going to have a lot more spirits like lingering around than like out in the countryside.
And there's still a lot of history in New York City for the US, a lot of trauma going through that city as well.
Yeah, even like the Native American trauma.
Yeah, definitely. The Native American ancestral trauma all throughout the country.
Yeah.
So we skipped right to the ghosts.
I want to go to. I love to talk about the ghost.
Me too. I have a ghost in my building. I've talked about this on the podcast already, but I have a friendly ghost that lives in the hallways. For my home, I have like a protector spirit guide. So anywhere I sleep, like I'm not bothered. But I think if people get into that practice of always protecting their home, then it'll be safe. But people aren't conscious of it, which is the problem.
Yeah, or even jewelry. Because before like modern acupuncture, modern needles were invented in the 70s by Sarin. If you look at needles now, they're like single-use, disposable, really thin and fine and sharp. That did not exist like in ancient days. So people only really did acupuncture for very serious conditions. What you would do instead is you would put different things on the points. You would put either like herbs on the point, or you would do acupressure, or people would do different like healing. Think about like healing crystals on the points. If you think of a jade bracelet, people wear jade bracelet because it's going over the inner gate and the outer gate, so it's protecting your body. So different jewelry, put it depending on where you're wearing it, can protect different meridians and like protect your health. So a jade bracelet is a good one. Most people want to wear diamond bracelets, but diamonds are like pretty catastrophic for women's health. Because yeah, so because energetically, if you think about it, it's like a very hard stone. It's got like a lot of masculine energy.
Plus blood diamonds.
Yeah, it's blood diamonds. So, you see somebody, especially like where you wear like an engagement ring, it's on the triple warmer channel. So it's a channel that helps the flow in your bodies. So you put this really hard, stagnant male stone on your finger. There's this famous acupuncturist, Jeffrey Wen. He said that's why a lot of people have all these health issues nowadays, because you're putting the wrong crystal on the different points and meridians. So your jewelry can protect you and affect your health.
That's so fascinating.
Pearls are very feminine, especially because I do like a lot of people's hormones. And, it's New York City. Diamonds are a status symbol. So I try to get everybody off their diamonds.
How do they take the news?
They don't believe me, half of them. No, it's tough too, because it's like, a trophy thing, getting like a diamond tennis bracelet. I'm like, this is and they'll switch to like a more feminine energy piece of jewelry. And I kid you not, it's like day and night. Their health just changes. Just changing your earrings, your bracelets, your necklaces.
Maybe that's why I was so sickly when I was married.
Yes, diamonds are really toxic for people.
It's so funny because I'm not like, I think it's beautiful. Like, my ring is beautiful, but I'm not particularly in love with having a diamond. Like, I'm not obsessed about it and never have been.
Or you just have to put it on a different finger. The ring finger is just a channel you just don't want that sort of energy on.
Okay.
I can't think of a finger it would be good on, but that's probably the worst finger to put a diamond on.
Ladies, stop wearing your diamonds.
I know. Yeah, your jewelry can be very healing because the whole Ren channel for women goes down the center line. So depending on like which point, like if you want to open your chest a lot, you could just have like something like a little bit lower. If you're having, it almost corresponds to like the chakras, but like, having a hard time speaking, you could put something over your throat, like a choker. If you're having like a ton of stress, wearing like a tiara, like across your crown there, because those are all like calming mental points. Like I normally needle them, but you can just lay at home and like put them on your hairline and you'll feel a lot better. If you get I'm trying to think of the name of the book. It's by Leslie Franks. I think it's called like Stone Medicine.
I love crystal healing.
You can just put them on the points if you need something in a hurry. Even different herbs. Like, I tell patients you can put like, those like Himalayan salts, the pink crystal. You just put that in your belly button, or ginger in your belly button. The salt helps with anti-aging. The ginger helps with digestion because salt goes to the kidney. Usually you would do this with moxa, but you can just put something in your belly button for healing. You can put a pearl, get the feminine energy in your belly button.
What about like anxiety?
Pearls would be good. Anything from the sea, seashells would be good. Pearls are like women's healing stones.
Tomorrow I'm going to be covered in pearls.
I know. And jade too. Jade protects against all the evil entities. You got to get a jade bracelet.
Okay. I don't have any jade.
Because you have to protect your inner and outer gate.
That's like the one crystal I don't have, which is really funny. Yeah,
I know. That's why you always see, like in Chinatown, like there's like a jade bracelet store.
No wonder. Yeah, the Chinese are obsessed with jade. Okay.
And it's also lucky. It's green. Because you can manifest different stuff for good luck. Like citrine for money. People also wear that in the inner and outer gate because you're just putting that different energy in the channels and the points. Then you can attract the good ghost, the helper ghost.
Be like, you mean our spirit guides?
Yes.
Those are the good ghosts.
I need the good ghost.
What inspired you to choose the name Fire Over Water for your acupuncture practice?
It actually comes from the I Ching. The I Ching's like a Chinese philosophy text. You ever see the Korean flag? There's all these hexagrams. You wonder what those lines are? So there's 64 of these hexagrams. In the I Ching, they all mean a different thing. Fire over water is the last hexagram, and it means right before completion. So it's like, if you think about like we're running a race, I thought it was good for healthcare at the time. You see the finish line, you're not going to like stop and like not finish the race. You got to just keep going. So it's like it means the process that is almost complete, but you have to just keep going and put in that work to get to that completion. I see this a ton in healthcare. People will start a treatment plan, but they never finish it because they're starting to feel good, but they don't do everything they need to get to completion. So they're kind of like in this cycle of like, I feel better, I'm getting unhealthy, I feel better, but then I feel bad again. It's because they don't put in all the work to get to healing, like full healing. So fire over water just means you're kind of close to everything being complete, but you just got to put in that work. The best analogy I make to patients is like, if your physician gives you a prescription for antibiotics, you don't take like 2 pills because you're feeling better. You got to finish that prescription so you don't get this recurrent mega infection one day because you're supposed to like kill off everything. You could see the finish line, but you just got to keep going and you got to do everything you can just to make sure you finish properly.
Do you specialize in anything?
I mostly do women's health. Everyone in the U.S. has a hormone problem. You would be like amazed what percentage of the female population is on like a hypothyroid medication. Even if somebody looks thin, they always feel like something is off. It's just because there's so much more toxins here. I would probably guess in New York, it's probably like 70% of women have hypothyroid or some sort of thyroid problem.
That's really high.
I know. So I do a lot of thyroid. I do like a lot of women's health because, most women's cycles are messed up nowadays too, especially with the whole vegan movement. A lot of women, they're malnourished. They're not getting their periods on a regular basis. They're having different, just name it, fertility issues, bone health issues. I have a ton of patients in their 40s already with osteopenia.
What's that?
Which means like their bones are weak. So osteopenia comes before you get osteoporosis. It's just like their hormones being unbalanced, especially when you're young, can cause you to lose bone starting like in your 40s. So I treat a lot of that. I do a lot of digestive disorders. There's a lot of problems, like the whole IBS world. There's no lab test or diagnosis that can tell you what's wrong, but then people don't feel well. Their stools aren't well. So I do a ton of that. A lot of pain management. Just everyone's sitting at their computer all day. Nobody feels good anymore just because they're scrunched. Everything's tight. Nothing's ever balanced. So they work out way too much. They're chronically injured. Yeah, just emotional well-being. I would say the majority, I kid you not, like in New York, probably 80% of people are on some sort of medication for anxiety or depression. Nobody thinks like, hey, maybe it's my lifestyle. Maybe I shouldn't be working 80 hours a week at Goldman Sachs to pay for what?
It's like the country of extremes. I feel like the modern lifestyle, depending where you are, can be really extreme.
Yeah, so it's most people are like not balanced. The environment too can mess up your neurotransmitters. So sometimes some people do have like a balanced life, but your food can definitely affect your emotions, all the products you're surrounded by.
Do you have vegan patients?
Oh my God, I have a lot because that's like one of the trendy, at least in New York City, like plant-based is very trendy.
But plant-based can also be good, but you can still eat animal protein.
Yeah, because I'll get patients coming in and they'll be like, oh, I'm so healthy. I'm vegan. I don't eat any meat. And, their hair is falling out because they're just not eating a balanced diet.
Do you recommend animal protein to them in order to fix their health?
It's really tough. That's like a very personal thing. You try to get something started, like a bone broth, and then hopefully to just get more and more added in. But yeah, diets, I would say, are the toughest thing to get people to change because people get like very emotionally invested in what they're eating, competing against a lot of other misinformation like on the internet nowadays.
Well, you were a vegetarian for a really long time. I think when we met, you were a vegetarian.
Yeah, I was. And yeah, that's probably why I had like a lot of injuries too. I was never healing because I didn't have the building blocks of healing. Even if, you're eating theoretical proteins, it's still not as bio available. That's like another thing patients don't get either is just iron. You can theoretically get it in spinach, but it's like not as easy to digest and not easy for your cells to absorb as eating it in steak because nutrients like come in different forms and your body can do the conversions, but it's much easier for your body if it's in the form that's easiest to digest and assimilate throughout your body.
What about cooking in a cast iron skillet?
It's good. I like it. Yeah, stay away from Teflons.
What if you cook vegetables in a cast iron?
It's hard because you have to use a lot of fat to keep it from sticking. And people are still terrified of
Oh
fat.
my God, fat is amazing. I love fat.
I know. It's like the damage of the 80s and 90s.
Oh yeah, you mean the fake
still live today.
News that fat's bad for you?
Even like if you look at Whole Foods, if you read the ingredients of some of their foods, they still use seed oils like canola oil. And people trust Whole Foods and they don't use healthy ingredients in all their foods. It's like pseudo-healthy.
It's going to take a lot of undoing. People still believe that like fat makes you fat and sugar doesn't.
Oh my God, I have old patients that still think margarine's healthy. Yeah, that's the problem.
Long way to go, world. Yeah.
Yeah, like once something's been ingrained in something, especially when it comes to diet, it can take years to slowly change that patient. It's kind of too much on your body to make a big change at once. You have to like make very slow changes just to get your brain adjusted and just to change your worldview to make things stick. I forgot. There's like a name for that. It's like some nudge something. It's this Japanese thing where it's almost like Kaizen, where you try to make really, really small changes to get better every day. And then eventually it's like you're great because all these small things added up.
Could you tell us a little bit about the history of traditional Chinese medicine?
Yeah, the history of Chinese medicine is just like the history of like most traditional medicines. In writing, it dates back over 2,000 years. what we know in written text is pretty old, a few thousand years ago. But if you look at it, it's pretty scientific. They would try things out and then record like how they worked on people, especially with herbs. They would try an herb, see its effect. Even with trying to describe like how the human body works, something like chi is like pretty controversial. What it should really mean. A lot of people think it's like energy flows in your body, but when people like look at the characters, they're almost like you think hieroglyphics. It's like a picture describing a word. So the one for chi is composed of rice and air. So some people think like rice meaning nutrient, air, maybe they knew about oxygen. Some people think chi really means blood flow because, ancient people, they knew about the circulatory system. One of my professors told me it's like, there was war back then, like bodies would be cut up. Like they weren't clueless about like the organs or how like blood was flowing. And if you look at a lot of the points, they're following major blood vessels. They're following the nerves. Most people think that they understood how things were working and it was just trial and error, just doing different acupressure and just seeing how things working with the channel flows. And yeah, that's how it was kind of came about. And there's a lot of famous ancient texts. You can go deep about yin and yang. In the US, most people know about traditional Chinese medicine, but there's all these different styles. There's like Japanese style, there's Korean style. Some people do only 5 elements based on like what we talked about earlier, like the 5 different element types, and then how the points correspond to that. There's different points depending on different systems. Like most people know about the traditional Chinese medicine points, but then there's also this other system called Master Tongue, where there's a whole different set of points. There's a Korean system where there's points only on your hand. It's pretty diverse, the whole healing system. But it's beyond just acupuncture, because most people only assume traditional Chinese medicine is just acupuncture, but there's 5 branches of medicine.
Is that like energy healing?
It's almost like the Tai Chi Qigong. So it's sort of like, you're moving your chi, you're cultivating your chi. Tui Na, massaging muscle, there's actually a whole thing, it's called bone setting. It's like early chiropractic that branch would do too. So if something's out of alignment, you can like set that joint into shape. People say chiropractic was stolen from Chinese medicine. Oh, and the last branch is dietary therapy. So it's using food as medicine. If you think about it, just as equally as important as acupuncture of the 5 branches.
I remember growing up and my mom cooking, and every time she would cook something, she would tell me this ingredient is for this organ, this herb is for this organ. For me, that was always normal growing up, and it makes sense to me that like food would be medicine because it's going into your body and healing you.
Most cultures around the world have some sort of dietetic system up until like modern times. The food would have a sort of quality to it, like whether it be hot or cold, which organ, or based on your constitution. You see this with people that are more prone to being heavy. I call them the phlegmy type people. They should not be eating dairy that much, or they shouldn't be eating like anything in the tropical fruits, like mango, papaya, banana. It's like too phlegmy, the characteristics of those foods for those people. Problem is most people want to be able to eat anything. Our body types have a certain constitution and we just can't. We're all different. So you just have to eat what works for your body.
That's similar to Ayurveda, right?
Ayurveda, yeah, it's the same thing.
So you have like body types that are supposed to eat certain foods. I haven't tried that yet, actually.
Yeah, you see this in like sports too. If you think about, I always say like a football player or a basketball player, their body is like the football player is going to be prone to like getting really big, and the basketball player is always going to be like tall and lanky. So it's like the tall, lanky guy needs to do different things to try to put some muscle on versus the football player has to like worry about getting overweight. Because they put on muscle fast, but then they could put on fat fast. For their body types, they have to really think about everything they're eating to try to like hit that goal figure they're going for. And plus, they're more prone to different injuries depending on like your body type.
Are you familiar with the Japanese acupuncture?
Yes, there's somebody in the US called Kiko. She has a whole style. It's like very palpation based because there's a lot of acupuncturists in Japan that are blind.
Really?
Yes. So they feel the meridians and the points looking for the disturbances. And based on like where you have this blockage, you needle like a point corresponding to this blockage. So Kiko, I find that is not popular in New York because most people want to be in and out of the clinic within 30, 45 minutes, whereas Kiko, you're going to be there an hour and a half. Kiko is still alive. She's in the Boston area.
My acupuncturist in Amsterdam, she practices Chinese medicine as well as another form of Japanese acupuncture where she doesn't actually insert the needle. I don't remember what it's called.
I do that a lot with like children. Like you only put the needle in and out. You don't leave it in. is a Japanese style. So you spend like a lot of time feeling around, and just the needle comes in and out. You don't lay there with the needles. So it's like, it's very hands-on for the patient too, because some people just want to come in and be like left alone.
And also it's good for people with needle phobias.
Even though I practice more of a Chinese style, all my needles are Japanese. I use mainly Serins because they're very small and painless. Whereas the Chinese, they want to feel the needle. They want to know like the treatment's working, whereas the Japanese don't want to know what's going on.
Stabbing.
Well, I feel like you get a better treatment. So if I get someone I know is from China, I'm taking out some different needles. Whereas I have a very American patient, I'm like, you got to keep this painless. Well, there's a style, like a Western style of acupuncture. It's called dry needling, but that people want to feel the needle. They want to feel you jamming that needle in and out of them.
Sometimes it hurts when you really need it, though, in the spot that you really need it.
Some people need a release. Yeah. So I do both. Because I do a little bit of this dry needling, so I'll release the muscle, but then one muscle's really tight. That means another muscle's not working half the time. So you have to try to troubleshoot, like, which muscle's not working. And then you try to turn it on with electroacupuncture. So then you put the needle on the muscle that's not working, and then you stim it to turn it back on, and then you get a better balance.
How long have you been doing this?
Too long. I think most people had a heart attack when I left engineering. I don't understand like why it has all this prestige, engineering. Or anything in tech too. I feel like tech workers are like the most abused people.
My parents made me study computer science, remember?
Yes.
And then like when I graduated, I couldn't find a job. I couldn't find an engineering job.
Oh my God, I struggled in the beginning too. I'm like, I thought I was in demand. And I had like an amazing...
Yeah, I was not in demand.
I had like an amazing resume. I had like all these amazing internships. I worked at like all these like prestigious places, and then you graduate. It's like no one tells you. It's like you really got to know somebody on the inside.
Dude, the American
it doesn't matter how smart you are. Yeah, because I remember some of the people I graduated with were like not that bright, and they were getting jobs. I'm like, how's this possible? This guy can't solve a differential equation. But I'm like, oh, he's a man. Most people like to this day can't understand like why would you leave engineering. And you know what? Acupuncture, it's very techy being in the health world because you're problem solving. Even though I'm like not using an equation, healthcare is really hard because humans are very complicated. So to try to figure out what's wrong with somebody is a ton of problem solving because something might seem straightforward. Even in Western medicine, most people will start out with like what's common, but then when what's common's not working, you have to start really digging deep. I just had this the other day with a patient. She's not getting her periods, and she's thinking, it's because of she was malnourished when she was younger. And I like look at her labs, and like that is like not the case. She's not too thin, and she eats well. And then I look at her labs, her thyroid's off. So she most likely has like Hashimoto's. So your thyroid can also cause you to not be getting your periods. Not everything is straightforward with diagnosing. People will start with what's obvious, and that's like what her physicians have been doing. But like you really need, once you try the treatments for like what's obvious isn't working, then you have to like really start digging deeper, kind of get into like every aspect. Like some problems, you see this a lot with like fibromyalgia. To get a diagnosis for that takes an eternity for most women. Even like chronic fatigue, stuff where you can't really easily diagnose somebody on a lab test, IBS, you just name it, stuff that like nobody really knows what's going on because like Western medicine hasn't discovered the marker yet. It can take people like 5-10 years to like for someone to like figure out like that's the problem before they get better.
Yeah, and I feel like Western doctors, they never ask you about your lifestyle. They never ask what you're eating. They don't consider stress.
No, like most Western clinics, it's a factory.
I don't go to Western doctors unless it's like trauma care.
I think they become very jaded. A lot of patients do want a prescription. Yeah, they want the shortcut. So if you try to be like helpful and give a lifestyle tip, this one primary care physician told me it's like they'll dump you and then you'll struggle to like pay your bills because your practice is empty. So I think a lot of them don't know what to do because it's a business at the end of the day. So if patients, you don't give them what they want and they dump you,
that's such a shame.
You won't be able to pay your bills.
Stay sick.
I know. So yeah, now with endocrinologists, if you don't give them Wegovy or Ozempic or, they'll dump you. They'll find the next doctor. People always are looking for a shortcut because we don't grow up learning to cultivate this healthy lifestyle. I think, the tides are turning. Like people, at least the younger generation, they don't want to be stuck at a desk working like from sunrise to sunset anymore. People are starting to look at the products in their lives, their foods they're eating. So I think, maybe the younger generation, there might be some hope. The U.S., we corrupt the whole world. feel like Ireland and the UK is this weird hybrid of like US and Europe. You could see the bad habits of the US and like some European habits. And then one day it's going to like jump to the mainland. Well, even in Spain, they want to get rid of the siesta. So, like, change the working, like people crank through the whole day. And, the siesta makes sense because, like, before air conditioning, like, you're not going to work at the peak sun times. They're just trying to, like, ram American culture down everybody's throat.
I physically cannot work 8 hours a day. Like, my body and my mind won't let me. My brain will shut off.
It's not
like,
natural.
No. Yeah, I don't think it's natural. If my body shuts down, I'm not going to do it.
You think about summertime, like why would you be working during the peak sun hours? You get up early, you work a little bit. Yeah. There wasn't air conditioning. Then you're going to take a break in the middle of the day and then maybe a little bit in the evening. Our lifestyles are just not designed for health.
We got to listen to our bodies.
We're not machines.
So what about the Tao of Chinese medicine?
Oh, I love that book. What's his name? Donald Kendall. Yeah. It's a good book because most people think acupuncture is all woo-woo and like all made up and stuff. All the ancients, it was very, very scientific how they discovered just how the body was working. So even like the meridians. So even though they didn't have modern technology, we can see this in the ancient texts. They just observed the body and how it was working. That's a lot like how they mapped out the meridians. They're just not in these like random locations. They trace our vessels and our nerves. The ancients, they knew there's a point like on your leg called stomach 36, and that point actually does connect to your stomach. People would needle that point like, oh, my digestion feels great. Now we can see with more like dissections and stuff that there is a connection between the side of my leg and my stomach. That's just one thing that drives me nuts too, because everyone thinks it's like I'm playing with fairy dust and we're just guessing what's going to work. Same as Western medicine. I guess back when I was working in bioengineering, not sitting around writing out equations and thinking hypothetically, how is this going to work? We're trying things out and we're testing them and you're seeing how it works. It's the same sort of process. It's not all hypothetical in your mind. People take something and they're seeing how it works on people.
Technically,
then you gain from that knowledge. Well, that's the thing too. I call it time tested because they know like how these herbs work and like what they're going to do to your body, whereas like a lot of drugs, this is why I don't get why everyone signs up
for testing
like,
on you.
They're testing on you, especially. But if you look a lot of drugs, they exclude a lot of people from the clinical trials. They'll exclude if you're taking like another medication or if you're too old or too young. And then once something gets approval, then it's like, who knows how it's going to work with other things. So they try out when they do a clinical trial on like the perfect person. And then after that, then it's like a best guess how it's going to really work on you. I see this a lot with fertility drugs because I get a lot of fertility patients. Most of them don't realize like these drugs were only tested on women with like blocked fallopian tubes. They weren't tested on like women that have like any sort of like pathologies like endometriosis or PCOS. So it's like a no-brainer why like most of these drugs aren't working on people. To get, I guess I feel bad for these companies, like to get approval is like on the general American public, it'd be kind of tough. Should we do more ghosts?
A ghost story?
I feel like I need a ghost story.
Yeah, let's talk about ghosts.
Let's talk more about ghosts.
I love talking about ghosts.
I know. Well, I've had a lot of haunted patients.
You have to put a bubble of protection around you every day when you see people.
Oh my God. So when I first moved back to New York from California, I was working for this really sketchy physician. New York, I swear to God, it's like the home of insurance fraud. Oh my God, like most clinics here, they're so sketchy. But I'm like, I need to get paid. There's this whole world of fraud in New York called like no fault, where it's like if you get, hit by a car, you can try to like get a settlement, but you need to pretend you have like a medical journey you went through. So it's like you go to all these different scammy clinics to get your treatments, to build a case. The problem with that is like a lot of people are scamming the system, but then some people actually have like real problems. Like I had this one patient, and that's the problem too when you're a practitioner. It's like, who has a real problem and who's faking it? But I actually had one patient. She actually was, I kid you not, run over 3 times at 3 different instances. I saw her for like an eternity. Like she would be standing on the sidewalk and a car would just somehow get on the sidewalk and hit her. And I would like feel the energy too every time she was in the room. You just felt like somebody's trying to kill this woman. Somebody was trying really hard to kill this woman. This is like when I first started trying to study like all these inner and outer dragons. Because I'm like, this is not a coincidence. Because like if you want to like get a big settlement, you need to be hit by the right type of car. I know. Like, you want to get hit by a yellow taxi cab, like an MTA bus, but she was hit by like the cars that aren't going to pay out well. So that's how, like, one reason why I knew it was
Some
something,
kind of like curse or something. I don't know.
some ghost coming on.
Oh,
Well,
that's
once the car
awful.
hit her and then ran away.
Poor woman. Geez.
So then you get like the city funds to try to take care of you.
Oh my God, that's awful.
She's definitely not the same. But yeah, you wonder, like, yeah, some people, like, these really
Yeah.
dark entities attach onto them. Or like patients that get like different cancers at a very young age too, that were like pretty healthy. And then like they get all these problems that are just like incredibly unexplained. And then it
That's
comes
related
back.
to ancestral trauma though? Or like
I think a
epigenetics?
lot of it is. Yeah. Because a lot of, especially in New York City, it's weird. It's like, you see a little bit of this in Palo Alto, because I was living in Palo Alto for a little while, and like every month some kid would like jump in front of the train tracks.
Oh yeah, I remember that. They had to have a guard there.
Because there's like so much trauma these kids have from their parents. And you get sort of the same thing in New York City. There's this unbelievable pressure on these kids, and that just causes like a lot of trauma and resentment. Some of these kids, they get, I don't know, they never see their parents. There's definitely like a lot of trauma there, just because like it's all about making money. There isn't like this balance. And yeah, that definitely can manifest in health problems. So that would be more of like an inner
emotional
dragon
wellness.
you would use.
I think there's more awareness around it though. I mean, I see it evolving.
It's definitely getting better. You see this, yeah, even in Palo Alto. You don't hear about kids jumping in front of the train all the time as you used to. I remember one year, it was terrible. Every week, I'm like, because I would be trying to commute to work, and I'm like, why is the train tracks closed? And I'd have to go to like a different stop.
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
lived not too far
I
from Gun High
remember-
School.
I think when you were living in Palo Alto, was I working in Palo Alto also? Or I was living in Mountain View.
Yeah, you were in Mountain View. Mountain View never had these problems.
Yeah, and I remember driving by. No, but I remember driving. I would always drive by the tracks and always see someone
Yeah.
sitting. Like, just a little chair next to the track, sitting,
Like-
watching all day.
Like, teens,
God,
please
that's
don't
so
jump.
awful. Yeah. Oh my God, so awful. How's your office? How's the ghost in your office?
I have good ghost in my office.
That's good.
I'm in an old, just to have affordable commercial rent in New York City, you got to start in a dump. And so I'm like, it's not that dumpy, my building, but it's old. If you came here, you would die, because you don't see this anywhere else in the world. It's New York City. The stairs, they're like, the steps are at an angle because it's like, it's deteriorating.
I would love to visit you. I need to go.
I know, but if you go in my face, like it's pretty nice and very serene feeling. But the building, it's old.
Oh, that's okay. Like Paris, you walk through these old haunted buildings, but then like if you step into my apartment, it feels like you're walking into a portal, and it's like a totally different energy.
Yeah.
From the actual building.
No, but I've had like such good luck since coming in here. I feel like the ghosts are like pushing me along.
That's good. They're your spirit guide.
I hope so.
Right.
Guide me.
Going back to spiritual and emotional imbalance with your patients, what's your approach to helping them?
Besides like the acupuncture, there's different herbs to help balance this a lot. There's a lot of formulas just to help with the spiritual and emotional. We do all the jewelry healing, because most women like to wear jewelry. We're getting all those diamonds off. And you can do all the protective stones. I do essential oils too. You can do those on the points. There's one company called Snow Lotus. It's founded by an acupuncturist, so they're kind of already ready to go and diluted to go on the point. Your diet is a huge factor, because people in Chinese medicine eating too many things that are phlegmy and damp could cause mental health issues. So you need to do more like moving sort of foods, things that have like some flavor to them.
Do you have patients that are a little bit resistant to facing their emotional blockages or spiritual blockages, or they just don't believe in it?
It takes a while, because sometimes, I kid you not, when you needle some of the points, when you do a release, people start crying and they don't know why. So yeah, sometimes when you're in a session, people are like, I don't know why I'm crying right now. It's because you're doing the points that are helping like release this trauma, because most people store a lot of their trauma in their muscles. That's why like a lot of people have like really tight upper traps too. They're just storing like all their problems and their emotions in their body. So when you release them, people just feel this wave of emotion coming out. Also like lifestyle. I try to get people to like leave New York City because some people like have a hard time traveling. Going to different areas can help heal your body. Back when I lived in when I lived in California, one of my yoga teachers said like California is ruled by, I guess, the element fire. So like a lot of people are drawn to go to California because like they need a change. And like once they have that transformation, then they want to move again. So I think traveling just outside of this area, because like New York, you think granted, it's kind of like things don't change here. You don't see innovation coming out of New York City. I think it's like too grounding for some people. So then people need to go to these other areas just to help the transformation. Americans don't like to like really travel. They'll go to Walt Disney World or something.
Which is not very grounding.
They'll go to like, all artificial places, Atlantis and the Bahamas. Like they don't really want to experience being in a different area, like a transformational area. Sometimes I recommend just a cruise because it's kind of like half American, half, you'll put your foot at least in Rome for a second.
Oh my God.
And then you'll come back to the safety of American food.
That's so interesting that you had experience with the Americans in New York City, because I feel like California is really different.
California is definitely really different. It's the energy of California. It's more transformative.
Yeah, everyone's there to like explore and grow.
Because the energy of New York, it's the opposite of change. People despise change here. So that's really, one of those things that slows down healing.
I'm just trying to think. Where do New Yorkers travel?
If you think about a startup, they're not coming out of New York.
No.
It'll be some Californians that ended up here by accident.
Actually, that's true, because my startup friends from California live in New York, and they're like starting all these companies. Yeah, they're from California.
Yeah, but if you think it's like all old business, even like if you look at Goldman Sachs, like all these companies don't want people to work remotely. Like anybody in finance, they're just against like change. I'm surprised even Amazon's trying to force people back into the office 5 days a week. There's no need for it.
Well, I guess New Yorkers travel to the Hamptons and to
The Hamptons is terrible.
in Miami.
I know. Well, the thing is too, they're not innovative with travel. New Yorkers wouldn't have gone to Tulum first. They go like where their friends have gone. They know it's safe. And
that's so interesting, because I actually never thought about that. Like I never thought about New Yorkers and travel in that way.
Yeah, because if you think about summer homes here too, my clinic happens to be like in an affluent part of it's like the Palo Alto of the area. And most of my patients, a lot of them have a summer home, but they will only get a summer home in certain areas, even though there's like no value for your money. Versus Hamptons is a big one. If you could afford the Hamptons, like why not like another little beach area? You can go to like the North Fork of Long Island, but none of them would ever do that because that's just not like the trendy place to go. Or even like maybe you're on a lake or somewhere upstate New York. But they can only like do things in certain towns. They can't do something like really far from like what all their friends are doing. Whereas I felt like in California, I was learning about new stuff all the time. Like people would be traveling to like places I've like never heard of.
We're very much like the off the beaten path also. I guess Californians just do it all. Like they're interested in it all.
Yeah, it's the energy of the place. So like that's why I think California will always find so much change and innovation. In New York, yeah, it's sometimes people don't like change. So like, if you need that, like come here. What do you think the energy of Miami is?
I've only been to Miami a couple times.
Because everyone's moving to Florida.
I mean, I personally wouldn't live there, but I enjoyed my visits there. Florida isn't really a place of change either, right?
I know, that's like New York South.
I mean, it is now. Actually, a lot of startup people during the pandemic moved to Tampa. I've never been, so I don't have an opinion on it, but
yeah, that's the thing too. Like New Yorkers, when they retire, they can only retire like in like certain states. Like Florida's a safe one. Like why not Arkansas or something? Or maybe that's like human nature. People just follow what other people are doing.
Do you have any other closing thoughts that you'd like to share?
I think the biggest closing thought is like whatever health problem you have, you can heal yourself and get better. You don't have to take a medication for the rest of your life, or you don't need a medication to lose weight. You can just change your diet, your lifestyle. You can use all these other holistic therapies like acupuncture, and then you can just transform your body and your life. Don't rely on a pill.
So where can people find you?
They can find me in New York City in the Upper West Side at www.fireoverwater.com.
And then on Instagram at Fire Over Water Acupuncture.
No, I'm not with it in the social media. I'm trying to get off because that actually rewires your brain a bit, being on it too much. I think that's another problem with my patients. Nobody knows what normal is anymore. Because, I get older patients and like Madonna's face is from like facials. And I'm like, no, that's like
Are you
it's
serious?
a lot of work. It's like,
No, that's fillers.
I know. and people are like, can you
that.
do that? I'm like, humans never naturally did that.
I gotta say, a good lifestyle change I did this summer was deleting Instagram off my phone. Oh my gosh, amazing.
I try to only don't even look every day, like every couple days.
So nice to have it off your phone. Because like I have to log in to the computer and it's like takes so much more effort. And then by the time I do it, I'm like, I don't want to I don't want to scroll on here because this is annoying.
Yeah, well, people don't learn as much anymore either. Because like you spend your time doing this mindless stuff, so people don't read whole books anymore. People don't get in touch with like real human beings as much as they used to. I was bored growing up. It's like you had to just get out there, and just find a human being. And now you don't have to.
Yeah, I used to play on
I
trees.
know.
I used to go outside and like look for my neighbors and play on trees.
Yeah.
Or I would like I remember I used to organize my drawers all the time when I got bored.
Yeah, or even when I first
Or I would call friends.
Yeah.
I would call friends and talk on
Or
the
when I
phone.
first moved across the country, like when I moved to California, it's like I knew nobody. It's like, oh, how am I going to meet people? Let me join a running club or something. Now I wouldn't have to do that. I can just chat online and just go running by myself. So yeah, before social media, you were like really forced to, I don't know, just be like a member of society.
Have social skills.
I know. Sometimes I can like run into that trap too, because like now it's so easy to like I should be out there doing more business networking and stuff, like in person versus like, oh, let me just message this person. Versus I feel like there's a totally different energy if you're in somebody's bubble, like if you're sitting right next to somebody in person versus chatting with them on Instagram.
But it does take more energy too to do the in-person
I
stuff
know.
these days. Because you're online so much too. It's like double work sometimes, it feels.
We got to get offline.
Yeah. Exactly. That said, I think it's time to get offline.
I know. All right. It's great talking.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. All righty. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being a part of our community. Be sure to connect with me by hitting subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. I greatly appreciate your support and would be thrilled if you could leave a review. Your reviews help this podcast reach a wider audience and foster stronger collective connection. You can also connect with me on Instagram and YouTube at The Cosmic Whispers Podcast. Thanks for listening.